The system registered the request before it was fully formed. There was no verbal input, no manual authorization, no identifiable source. The request did not complete itself. The system accepted it anyway. This audio was recovered from an internal archive associated with a medical institution that no longer appears in any current registry. The facility name was removed prior to final audit. Only partial floor plans remain. The corridors were long and uniformly lit. Fluorescent lights remained active regardless of staff presence. Electrical noise was constant. Silence was never absolute. The floors were white marble, cold to the touch, reflective enough to suggest depth where none existed. Footsteps echoed longer than expected, even when only one individual was present. The subject was not admitted through standard intake procedures. There is no arrival record. There is no intake time. The subject appears in the system as already present. Medical staff documentation is incomplete. Names repeat across non-overlapping shifts. Several signatures correspond to individuals no longer employed at the time of recording. This discrepancy was logged. It was marked as non-critical. The subject was instructed to remain seated. The subject was instructed to listen. The subject was instructed not to ask questions. No restraints were required. Compliance was immediate.
The subject was instructed to remain seated. The subject was instructed to listen.
Vital signs were monitored continuously. Heart rate remained within acceptable parameters. Respiration was shallow but consistent. Skin temperature was slightly below baseline. The subject reported a metallic taste. This was logged as a subjective sensation. No intervention was required. Daily procedures were repeated without variation. Instructions were delivered at the same time each day. The same tone was used. The same pacing was observed. The same pauses were maintained. Over time, the instructions ceased functioning as information. They became patterns. They became rhythm. Medical notes indicate repetition was not a side effect. Repetition was the method. At a later stage, the subject stopped responding to meaning. Compliance continued regardless. When a phrase is repeated long enough, it no longer communicates, it signals. At this stage, the subject was no longer referred to as a patient. The designation was updated internally. Process Compliant Unit. No emotional markers were detected after the third cycle. No distress indicators were logged. This was recorded as improvement.
Repetition was the method.
The archive was reopened for secondary review. The request originated internally. No justification was attached. Investigator designation Field Auditor 1. The investigator confirmed the facility no longer existed in public records. Satellite imagery showed absence of structure. The floor plans did not correspond to the terrain. Access to the recovered audio was granted. Playback began without modification. After the first cycle, the investigator reported difficulty maintaining temporal awareness. This was attributed to fatigue. A pause was requested. The system did not register the request. The investigator remained seated. Vital signs were not monitored. This omission was noted after review. The archive records no formal conclusion to this evaluation. The case was reassigned following a lack of response. Investigator designation, Field Auditor 2. Review notes were incomplete. Several sentences terminated mid-structure. A low-frequency sound was reported during playback. This sound does not exist in the original recording. The phenomenon was logged as auditory fatigue. During the fourth repetition cycle, note-taking ceased. No departure time was recorded.
Audio playback continued.
The investigation was escalated to internal compliance review. Observer designation, Internal Observer 3. The observer was instructed not to engage with the material for extended periods. This instruction was acknowledged. Recommended exposure limits were exceeded during the first session. No discomfort was reported. No concern was raised. Identity verification was requested after 72 hours. The observer responded using system-compliant language inconsistent with prior records. Recursive procedural overlap was flagged. The observer was reclassified. Process continuation asset. No termination event was registered. The workstation remained active. Audio playback continued. The investigation was marked complete due to redundancy. No further personnel were assigned. The archive remains accessible. Access is not recommended.